All right. One of your earlier posts from March 25th, 2021 said discipline is for losers. Why is that?
So I often compare discipline to something negative, because you get disciplined when you misbehave, you get disciplined when you fall short. I like to kind of spin it a little bit and say self-regulation. Self-regulation is your ability to monitor your behavior, your ability to regulate your emotions, and your ability to be in control. I don't want to be a person that's always focused on being disciplined. I want to be a person that has mastered self-regulation, a person that has mastered being able to say yes, being able to say no, and then simultaneously being able to play with the balance of balance. Most people apply self-discipline and they neglect so many beautiful things that they could experience in life because, I just got to be hard on myself. No, not necessarily. You just have to self-regulate, understand how to manage your life, and understand that it's a lot more enjoyable when you are a person that has self-control as opposed to a person that is just following a set of rules over an extended period of time.
What is self-regulation though? Because if you regulate the wrong things, you're going to work a job that you hate, you're going to go through a path that you don't enjoy, and then you find 10 years gone down the path and nothing has changed.
I mean, I think it all comes down to self-regulating good and bad things. So a good thing at the wrong time can be a bad thing. Just like a bad thing in an opportunistic time could have a positive switch to it. So it's not about self-regulating crack cocaine, you know what I mean? It's about understanding that if you have too much of a good thing and you don't apply this self-regulation, it can be negatively affecting you.
How does that feed into time? Because everything that has a cause has an effect. So let's say if we self-regulate today and we remove an aspect of our diet or a food or a drink, that'll have an impact in a few years' time. But how do you think about that for the impact of what you've done? Because it's a communal effort that applies over the course of 5, 10, 20 years.
I mean, it's interesting. I think self-regulation, you can look at it short-term and long-term. So it has short-term consequences, but it also has long-term consequences. What I always tell people is in my decision-making process, I never want to make irreversible decisions. So you never want to make decisions that you cannot reverse. So for example, I go fuck a bitch, get that girl pregnant. I can't reverse that decision. It's done. My life will fundamentally be different. Had I self-regulated and kept my dick in my pants, I would have been able to avoid decision-making, right? And consequences that will fundamentally change my life. So in the self-regulation process that I apply, I always avoid things that I can never fundamentally change. So I like to be able to, if I make a decision, because I can't see 20 years in the future, right? So those have real world consequences, these decisions. So I want to make sure that any decision that I make has a reversibility factor to it.
What about on like a micro basis? So the decisions you're making today, food, health, diet, work, where you be, what you're working on, and the impact that will have even in the short term, 6, 12 months ahead.
I mean, that comes down to self-regulation with regards to how I feel today. And does this help me achieve my daily goals? So for example, if tomorrow I have a very important meeting, it would be foolish for me not to self-regulate and go out tonight super late, go party, go drink, because it doesn't play into my ethos, into my objective short term. So you have your short-term objectives in order to complete your long-term mission.
Yeah, of course. Talk to me about like the self-sabotage aspect around that, right? Because maybe people know they shouldn't be going out. Maybe they know they shouldn't be like abusing drink or drugs or food, but they still go and do it though. It's like, what do you think is at play there?
I mean, it's two perspectives. What I tell people in the first side of the coin is make it so hard to lose that it becomes easy to win. So if you have junk food in your house and you're overweight, then what you're doing is you're creating a battle that shouldn't be there. Right? So what I need to do is remove all sort of distractions, understanding that I have a goal in mind. But most people, they enjoy to do the things that fuck them up. They enjoy to do things that aren't going to push them forward because they have no objectives and no goals. That's one side. And then the other side is understanding that there's real factors of addiction, real factors of psychological warfare that apply into how we operate that control us. So for example, how do you know that going out and partying and drinking is the ultimate version of fun if you haven't experienced a plethora of versions of fun. If all you know is that, then that's what you're going to revert to. So what I tell people is don't fall into the bullshit. Don't fall into the psyop of what somebody else has told you is enjoyable. Go and explore multiple things and don't become a slave to anything. The moment you become a slave to something, you lost.